You're listening to a 4x4 Radio Network podcast.
Hey Jeepers, welcome to another show of On the Trail with Kevin and Scott. This one's important. I'm Kevin, the engineer, the guy who reads instructions, uses the right tool, and generally follows the instructions, and will tell you if I don't follow those instructions, I know I'm responsible for what happens. And across the microphone,
and all the way on the other side of the state is Scott, the slapstick parts guy. While I will share that I can't speak anymore, this show is going to be an important one, kids, because this one's actually near and dear to me because this helped me over the past, I'm going to say 4 or 5 years of my job. So this show is very important, but as we will always share what worked for us and as well as what didn't, remember, it's up to you to do your research, read the instructions, and please, especially with this show, follow them.
Follow those instructions. We have a special guest, too, that we want to introduce, and we'll go into him in just a moment. But you guys know that we had a little teaser last show where I kind of got on a little bit of a rant. I will do that occasionally, as you know, at least once a show. And we were talking about airbag recalls. And a huge number of you people out there haven't followed up on your recalls. So to kind of get you in the mood to maybe go ahead and call your dealership and figure it out, we have Matt Witherspoon. And you know what, Matt? You're how do I even put this? You're with Takata Airbag Recall Organization. And welcome to the show. We're about ready to get serious, I think. Right, Scott?
Yes, this subject is actually kind of serious. And I do see some of these explanations and or comments and questions on some of the Jeep forums. And I try to do my little expose, if you will, saying this is actually kind of important, but I don't want to steal any of Matt's thunder. I will let him kind of talk what everything's about. But Matt, so good morning and afternoon. How are you today? And welcome to calling the nice lightning capital of the world. That's Florida. How are you today, sir?
Hey, thanks, guys. Thanks, Kevin, Scott, for having me on this podcast. It's a really, really awesome opportunity to get the word out there and raise awareness about this Takata Airbag recall. Just to kind of give you a little bit of background, I know Kevin gave you all a little bit of background. My name is Matt Witherspoon. I'm a regional manager for a company called Market Source. Market Source is it's sales, staffing, marketing. We have our commercial automotive side where we work with a lot of manufacturers, auto manufacturers on this Takata Airbag recall. So I work specifically with Stellantis, FCA, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep. Manage a team of 23 from Detroit all the way down to Tampa who go after this dangerous Takata airbag recall. We've been partnered with Stellantis, then FCA going back to September 2020 on this Takata airbag recall initiative. It's become a serious matter. We're having a lot of folks getting hurt, getting hit with metal shrapnel when the airbags deploy. There's been, across all 19 manufacturers affected by this recall, there's been over 30 fatalities of people getting hit with these ruptured metal inflators. And, everybody hears the word or terminology airbag recall. It's actually the airbag inflator itself that's under recall. These airbag inflators are made of steel. On the driver's side, it looks kind of like a hockey puck. And the passenger side, almost, as Scott put it so eloquently earlier, yeah, exactly. There you go, like a Red Bull can made of steel. And these, steel pieces can rupture and fly out and hit people. I could go into extreme depth about what causes these things to malfunction and go bad if you'd like.
At least, is it a metallurgy in the can, or is it some imbalance in the charge that pops it, or what is it?
So what makes these things faulty, these inflators faulty, is there's a propellant inside of these steel inflators, ammonium nitrate. And over time, it takes, at least a decade for this ammonium nitrate to degrade. And how it does degrade is heat fluctuations, moisture from humidity causes this ammonium nitrate to degrade. And once that starts to degrade, it weakens these metal inflators. Again, made of steel. So when that chemical reaction does take place and that controlled explosion does take place, those metal inflators rupture into large pieces, small pieces, and they can fly out through the airbag and hit people, face, neck, chest, drivers, passengers, backseat occupants.
So forearm and all that. Everything.
When they work correctly, they're just supposed to split open and allow the gas to escape and inflate the bag, but they are not supposed to lose any pieces. And so what you're saying is the corrosion has weakened them to where instead of them just splitting open, they're actually blowing up.
For lack of better terminology, Kevin, that's exactly what's happening. Yeah, the once the steel becomes weakened, it has the chance that it can break into several different large pieces against small pieces and fly out through that airbag and hit people. It's again, we've had across all 19 manufacturers. Over 30 fatalities due to this. So it is an important safety recall to get repaired. As Kevin mentioned, I met him over at Jeep Beach Week in Daytona for the first time out in the parking lot. And he saw me kind of doing what we do and going after these vehicles. And with the Jeeps, specifically the Wranglers that, we were going after out there, they're the 2007 to 2016 models that are affected by this recall. And the Jeeps are a little unique in that it's only the passenger side that has that Takata airbag inflator recall on it. So, a lot of times you'll see that people see things on the driver's side. Jeep owners, it's more of a clock spring recall that I'm sure you all
familiar with. Yes.
Yeah.
I've replaced them several times.
I'm sure you have.
I just want to interject here. I don't know if Kevin or Matt, if you've had it in 2019 when I totaled my Charger. I had the airbag go off both my knees and my arms. And if you've ever been through that, that's kind of a scary situation because not only that, you get I got burned on my forearm and everything else. And as I told Matt at the beginning, and he said it was a great way to explain this, is you literally with these airbags the way they are, it's almost like having a claymore sitting in front of you. And that's this very scary proposition. So if you've ever been in an airbag deployment scenario and you've experienced it, I cannot imagine the pain of shrapnel flying into you because, again, the airbag itself did its job. Thank goodness mine wasn't covered into that recall. But still, it's a situation where, again, because of what I do, I've been through these where I'm the parts guy. I've handed these airbags out, and this is kind of critically important because all the TSBs kind of explained all that. And the only thing I want to touch on real quickly is two real quick things. And one is when you got the letter from the dealership, a lot of us, we put things in our mailbox or we set it aside or whatever, as if you bought the vehicle firsthand. It's not a ploy to get you at the dealership to sell you more parts and get you more money. This is a safety issue. This is something that you have to be done. Right now, where I work as I code at the Flapping Penguin, we have the Tacoma is right now under 4 recalls, one with a splatter on the nuts holding the axle shafts in. Get that looked at. There's recalls are there for reasons. And there's difference between a TSB and a recall. TSB is a technical service bulletin saying, hey, follow this tree of problems that might fix your vehicle. A recall is, hey, there is a danger to this part failing. It can actually injure you. Get this looked at. And another thing I've heard people say all the time is, well, I don't got time to it. I'll just buy the airbag and do it myself. No, because when we did the Takata airbags at Lexus, we had to physically scan the airbag, scan the old one, scan the VIN number. So that way there was a chain of custody, for lack of better terms, showing that the airbag and the recall was done. Another question people say, well, if I bought the car secondhand, do I still get the recall? Yes. As far as everything I know, you don't have to be the original owner. And if you didn't get that letter, and I'm sure Matt's going to touch on this, is if you can go to a website. Is it the National Transportation Safety Highway? I might have gotten the alphabet soup mixed up.
NTSB.
Thank you. But you can go there and type in your VIN number, and then it can tell you that, hey, this vehicle is part of this recall. And if you even go to get an oil change, sometimes like right now, because every VIN number I type in for every single model of Flapping Penguin in my parts catalog comes up with it. This vehicle has a recall. It's like, click there, and it gives me everything. So this is a safety item. Take this seriously. This is the information that we have to get out there because, again, being the parts guy, I don't want to see anybody get hurt. Kevin and I really care about our listenership. I don't want to see anybody get hurt. So please take this information serious. I know I
Please,
make
and
the
I'm going to
jokes.
throw one other comment in there, Scott, about do it yourself. This is one time that even I didn't do it myself. Okay, it wasn't my Jeep, it was my wife's car, and we paid for it for another reason that people aren't thinking about. If you do it yourself, what are you going to do with that old one that's decaying, that's likely to explode? You're going to put it on a shelf? You're going to throw it in the trash? No, don't do that. If you've heard about lately, they're starting to look into that when batteries are disposed of and catching trucks on fire. For those of you here in Florida, then you read that we've lost 4 trash trucks. Fortunately, no one was hurt, but due to people throwing away lithium-ion batteries in the trash, and they hit it in the back of the truck, and they ignite. And so you really don't want to hear that you disposed of a Claymore mine in your trash. Yeah. It's a chain of custody, not only for getting you safe, but then taking the used unit and getting it safe. And I hope I'm not talking out of place, Matt.
Not at all. Both you gentlemen make some great points. Yeah, it's to have that recall actually completed. We need the old inflator to send back to be disposed of properly. So yeah, it's not like, you just take it out and you do it yourself. You put it on the shelf. We need a OEM new inflator to be installed, and then that old Takata inflator pulled out and sent out for disposure. And so it's not really a do-it-yourself thing. It's something you want a professional doing. We've got some technicians at a lot of dealers we work at that are just they're so well versed in this airbag recall. It's a fairly simple repair. Yeah. So we were doing them out at Jeep Beach, Kevin. Daytona Chrysler Dodge was out there knocking them out on site in a matter of 15, 20 minutes. And at the dealers, of course, it's going to take you a little longer checking your vehicle in. You take a few hours. Just every dealer wants to underpromise and overdeliver as far as the timeline they set for you. So they may tell you half a day. It can be done in less than an hour, but just CYA type, under promise and over deliver it. They may tell you half a day, but it's important to do.
Yeah. It is. I mean, to me, it's one of those things that just isn't worth fussing with. And I want to stress that what we had said before is you can go to, and I believe it's ntsb.org, or you can just Google Takata airbag recall.
So, and I'm glad you brought that up, because that is something I wanted to elaborate on a little bit. There's several different platforms to check a recall on your vehicle. NHTSA, the National Highway Transportation Safety Administration. You can go to their website. You just Google NHTSA, NHTSA recalls. That'll take you. You can do any make, any model vehicle, but specific to our Jeepers out there. You can go to mopar.com to check throw your VIN number in there to check for any open recalls. Same thing. I know I mentioned to you, Kevin, over at Jeep Beach, we were helping our folks, our partners out, Stellantis and GMMB, who we're affiliated with a website called checktoprotect.org. That's also a great website you can go to, put your VIN number, put your tag number in, and it'll show you any open recalls and lead and give you some direction on getting those. And
I will tell you that any of the orgs or the general ones, you don't have to just stop with your Jeep, folks. If you're in a family like mine, I got a Ford truck, I got a Mercedes for my wife, I've got the Jeep, I've got a motorhome. All of those can be checked in minutes. And let's just go ahead, and I'm sorry if I'm insulting a few of you, but I'm not trying to. I'm trying to help those that don't know. Your VIN number is under your windshield. You can look at it from the outside. You can look on the door pillar, or you can look at your registration. It's probably the easiest way. If you have your registration, it's written right in there, and it says VIN, Vehicle Identification Number. Mm-hmm. And so it's not a hard number to find. It doesn't take research. It just takes opening your eyes and looking. Go ahead. If you're going to sit down, do all of your vehicles. You might be surprised. You might be finding out that you're have a repair that you don't even know about that's not even the airbag, but you'll find out all of them. I will tell you, though, from the airbag perspective, that's the only one that I know of that is likely to injure you and possibly kill you, if it misfires. So this is just this is one of those things that you don't want to mess with.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the largest, most complex automotive recall out there there ever was. So if you are you should be getting notices in the mail every few weeks. If it's, that Takata, the airbag recall, get it done, folks. Don't win what I call the reverse lottery. People always say, "Oh no, that won't happen to me. I don't drive on I don't ride on the passenger side." Don't win the reverse lottery. People there's hardly any chance of winning the real lottery, but people win it every day. So again, don't win the reverse one.
Yeah, that's
agreed.
One thing I was getting ready to touch on, because a lot of people, and again, a lot of well, I drive careful, I don't have to worry about it. That one errant, again, I drove careful, I didn't have to worry about it, and sometimes just things occur, and I had the surprise of the kiss of life of the airbag into my face. So you can't really you might be the safest driver in the world, but you can never, ever, ever anticipate the guy on the other lane, the next to you. They're on their cell phone eating their the chicken nuggets with dipping sauce, doing a TikTok video, a Facegram or Instabook or something like that. You don't know. So again, take 2 seconds to watch a car crash video on YouTube, and you go, I'm gonna kind of like give more space in between things, because again, I'm making a tiny joke, but at the same time, it's not a laughing matter. It's as
well. Let's hit the other one here. That we are a unique group. We are a group of individuals driving vehicles that may have an airbag deployment that has nothing to do with a head-on accident. When you get off-road, you try to jump something, you misjudge an approach to a ramp or a tree and don't have the approach angle, you can, in fact, have a strong enough G-force. Our Jeeps, since 97 is when they introduced the interior airbag accelerometer that's right there in your dash in front of you. It's actually on your transmission tunnel right at the firewall underneath everything. And you don't even have to be in an accident. It just has to decelerate violently at a rate above its set point, and it's going to fire off your airbags. So you roll your Jeep down a hill. You run it nose first into, a tree stump you don't see in the water. Any number of ways to set that airbag off. And it has nothing to do with traffic. It has nothing to do with driving safely. It has to do with abrupt deceleration from a tech point of view. Yeah. And we are in a situation, any of us who off-road, regardless of whether it's a Jeep or otherwise, it's just we seem to be in the Jeep. We're tough. We're going to go out there. We're going to, I can make my Jeep jump higher than your Jeep. Yeah. We seem to have a large number of people doing stupid human tricks. So you're likely to visit the airbag a whole lot more. Well, you have a higher likelihood of visiting that airbag, as Scott put it, the kiss of life, than, say, maybe your Aunt Ethel who's driving her Prius down to the grocery store.
Yeah. No, as Kevin was saying that, there's actually videos of TJ's rock crawling and smashing on a rock hard. Next, poof, hello. So
you come over the top of a rock and drop that front skid pan or the front bumper into the next obstacle, and you get a surprise in the face.
Yeah. No, again, Matt, I don't want to steal too much more of your thunder, but again, Kevin and I talk about safety, carrying the fire extinguishers, first aid kits, stuff like that. And we especially when we talk about when we teach the off-roading classes, Kevin especially, preaches the safety and things like that. I think one of the things Kevin and I are going to add is if you have a 2007 to 2016, check your VIN.
Maybe we'll set up a laptop on a Wi-Fi if the next event and sit there and say, okay, let's check to see if yours is there.
While you're online buying bumpers and all the other stuff for your Jeep, take 2 seconds and visit a website.
Snap a photo of your VIN. Just go to any of the websites mentioned earlier. Check that VIN because it is free to fix. Doesn't cost you a penny. There's a lot of even dealerships out there like the one that was out there at Daytona Chrysler Dodge. They have a mobile recall team that they will send out, and they will fix it at your home, fix it at your job. So do your due diligence. Please check your VIN.
It's one of the few modifications that's, number one, worthwhile, number two, saves your life, and number three, doesn't cost anything.
Yeah, and plus every dealership's got free coffee and is guaranteed to be burnt by 10 a.m. On that note, Matt, so quick question. So do you know anything about the newer airbags? So I know here in Florida, the humidity, especially at Lexus, the humidity was a big, huge factor for one of the issues. If I have like a 2018 or newer vehicle, the Takata airbags, are they still using them, or is this something that they no longer use those and now on the second generation? So anybody has a newer vehicle than that, is there any way to set their mind at ease a little bit?
Yeah, so that's a fantastic question, Scott. So the last years, these Takata airbags were going into vehicles 2016. So anything newer than that, you're going to have an inflator. There's many different kinds out there. Dicel, ARC. They've changed the propellant inside of these metal inflators. They add a desiccant to help with the moisture and humidity to kind of soak up any of that might be getting into the inflator. And there's also more holes, tiny little breathe holes in these metal inflators that cause when the chemical reaction goes off, it has a little bit more room to breathe, if you will.
Okay. Basically a larger nozzle to get the gas out that's inflating the bag, as opposed to, all having to go through one pinhole.
Yeah, there's definitely with these newer inflators, we're seeing much better things. In my opinion, they just didn't test these Takata ones quite long enough and kind of rushed them into the market. Whereas, when we find out, people are getting hurt even worse than that, these new inflators, they, went back to the drawing board. Hey, this is what we can do to limit the moisture and humidity from degrading these chemicals. And the desiccants are great. The new breathe holes going around them are going to do much more when the time comes when that charge comes to the chemicals. It's gonna function in a much better manner.
Cool. One other thing I'll say here for folks out there, and I've done this myself, so I know it's valid. If you're not sure, if you don't remember the ending year, go ahead and enter in. If you've got a 2020 Gladiator, go ahead and enter it in. And odds are really good that you won't. But if yours is one that somehow, and I'm not sure it's going to be 2020, but if you have a crossover in 2018, it'll come up on the recall, or you'll just say, nope, no recalls, or it'll tell you that maybe your windshield wiper motor needs to be replaced under warranty. But, it doesn't hurt is what I'm saying. Yeah. If you're not sure, you can go ahead. It's better to be safe than sorry.
Mm-hmm. And never put four-wheel drive wipers on a two-wheel drive. I'm sorry, Matt. I didn't mean to cut you off. What were you going to say?
No, I mean, it's like you knew exactly what I was thinking, Kevin. I mean, just better safe than sorry. Take the handful of seconds it takes to throw your VIN number at any one of those websites just to, give yourself the warm and fuzzies. Oh, I'm okay. No recalls,
Yeah, it's easier to know than it is to worry. Causes less ulcers, maybe even saves a hair or two on your head.
Know before you say no. No, that's actually a thing we use in the parts department. Know before you say no. Don't guess. Like Kevin says, don't test, guess. All right, don't guess, test. No. Backwards.
Scott,
come on, Red Bull, get in there. No, I
don't guess, test, and it's not mine. It belongs to Eric O.
Sorry.
Up in Ovoca, New York, who is a very good mechanic, a very, very good teaching mechanic. So, yes.
Very cool. What? Anything else you want to cover, Matt? Because I think we got the information now, which I think is what we want.
Yeah. Again, I just can't thank you guys enough. For having me on, and Kevin, I know we kind of mentioned just kind of chatting about that. There's some sort of fate involved in us meeting each other and doing what I was doing, and you're out there kind of, hey, what's going on? And I explain who I am, what I'm doing, what the end goal is, and then we exchange.
Let's be honest, Matt. Here's a guy walking around peering in Jeeps, looking at door jambs and windshields with a computer. Okay. let me go challenge him. It's just part of the training.
Yeah, well, again, I wasn't that crazy about it all. We were using a website called checktoprotect.org, where we can get a VIN number just by running, scanning a tag, and then we kind of plug and play. But I just found it to be, just a weird, chance that we meet up and get to talk about this. So I can't thank you guys enough for giving me a platform to kind of get the message out even further, because you guys are very passionate about your Jeeps. And I'm very passionate about it, keeping, not just Jeep owners, but all, Chrysler, Dodge, any make, any model. I just want people to be safe.
Absolutely.
And that's kind of the way we felt about it when I heard his story. It was like, this is right down the line, folks. You, our listeners, you listen to this show for the tech. Well, here's some serious tech with serious implications. So I'm going to ask a favor of you guys. Share this podcast.
Yeah.
Share it to your friends. If they don't listen to podcasts, share the message at very least. But this is something that obviously our community of Jeepers, I don't know if it's the attitude that, I'm tough, I drive a Jeep, it helped win World War II, blah, blah, whatever you want to use. But these things are hurting people, if not killing them. So this is a time where we need to use, Jeep, the only vehicle that comes stock with friends. Will use that friendship and let your friends know. Ask them about their Jeeps. Like I said, share the podcast if they want to hear the tech behind it. But let's get that message out there. I'd like to see the Wrangler wiped off the recall list, as in fully, taken care of.
100% compliance.
That would be our goal here.
Yeah.
Very well put.
Matt, any other comments?
No, just that. Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming on. It sounds so much better, and it gets more point across when somebody like yourself comes, rather than just me chiding people. They're used to that.
And that's the other thing Kevin and I talk about, because we have some people that want to be interviewed, and we have all that. You, sir, got bumped to the top of the list very quickly. Like literally, we were still unpacking, from the GPW, and Kevin's like, hey, did this guy with the airbag? Yeah, let's do it. Get him on the phone. Let's do it. Let's get this done, because it's important. It's something I'm passionate about. Because again, Dory, before she passed, she was an ER nurse. I don't know if she dealt with any of this. And so people getting hurt is kind of really important to me, and Kevin as well. But again, you got fast tracked to the front, sir. So.
Well, thank you guys so much. It's an incredible platform to get on and to be able to get the message out. So I can't thank you guys enough.
Not a problem. Well, again, we thank you very much. And again, everyone hang tight. We got a couple more tech segments to go. But Matt, thank you very much for your time. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, gents. Y'all have a wonderful day.
Bye.
Well, Scott, that was interesting, and Matt was quite well informed about that issue, wasn't he?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Great to have him on the show. Moving on to other Jeep Beach related, perhaps a little less on the scary side.
Yes.
Shifting
gears to more happier subjects.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Yeah. Well, you would have to do that since you're now playing in the grind 'em gears arena with the GPW. What I want to do is, just hit on a few other high points. Number one, let's touch with an old friend of the show, and that is Metal Cloak. That we've had Mattson Beakley on the show himself, and we've both of us run their product, have been very happy with it. But I just want to let you know that they're expanding their line. For those of you in the XJ world, you need to check out their website and their stuff. They now carry XJ components. Yes, folks. Metal Cloak is doing leaf springs too, not just coils.
Nice.
They've got stingers. They have a full line of body armor that blows my mind. Not just the fenders and the rear quarters, but a whole line. They have different rock sliders. They have different. They've really gone kind of over. Really over, and they have now two catalogs: the TJ, YJ, CJ, XJ. And then you can move on to their one that covers Scott's favorite world, which is the JLs and JTs.
Right.
So they had to go to two catalogs here. So if you're in the mood for parts, no, they are not a sponsor. They're just make some good products. They do have some new shocks out there that they're selling, different rock sports that are tuned for them. You can get butching. And the other thing that they've come up with is they now have their catalog full of individual components. So if you're like me with an older system and you need new brake lines or something like that, you can just order the 24-inch front brakes or the rear line for the TJs and it's the catalog's organized by your vehicle. You know, they've got diff covers. I'm sitting here flipping through it again, drooling.
Nice.
But I just thought I'd throw that out. They even, believe it or not, they even sell a special riv nut drill bit for those putting on those body panels. The 17/32 riv nut drill bit is available from them because they know that people are complaining about not being able to get, and if you drill it too big, it doesn't tighten up. If you drill it too small, you can't stick it in.
Yeah.
So just thought I should throw that out there. I thought it was wild when I flipped the catalog and saw stingers, and I'm going, okay, we're now making stingers and rear license plate brackets and tire carrier components and TJ rear reinforcement frame, things. And the XJ system was really cool. You got double rate coils up front, all of the goodies that you'd see on a TJ platform. But in the back, they've got some long arch leaf springs designed for the XJ suspension. Yeah, it just kind of neat that they're up for it. So anyway, that's that. The other one is that I wanted to talk about was while I was there, and Scott was over sweating, showing off the GPW with Autumn. I ran into Kevin of Rock Slide Engineering. And we realized chatting together, I was talking to him about the steps that they sell, number one, and was complimenting him on the fact that, I've got Gen 1s, and we talked about when we had met first, which was back in Orlando, Florida, at the Off-Road and Truck Expo at the convention center when his product was brand new, just a new concept.
Yep.
And that was 14 years ago. Yeah. And I bought my first set of steps after that show. So, yeah. And the fact is, what we're talking about was I said, I appreciate the fact that you are still supporting your Gen 1, even though you've made technological changes in the way the steps operate and the componentry. Just to use an example, the drive motor, which is actually a Ford full-size vehicle window operator motor, has changed not once, not twice, but 3 times in those 14 years in its drive capabilities. It started out as a square drive, little hole that kind of looked like a socket, for the snapping onto the extension.
Right.
And it went to a star type drive, which was a 5-pedal star. And then it's gone to a hex drive. And they have kept up with that. And if you call for parts, you can get those parts. I mean, they're not free, but they're not horribly expensive either.
Yeah.
But they know those differences. So they'll ship you the motor with the crank with the correct star on it, as opposed to just shipping you the new motor assembly that might not fit.
And that's very interesting because in a world right now where everyone's saying, "Oh, get the new and the better, don't worry about the old," to continue to support the people who laid out a good chunk of money for all that just shows, in my opinion, my humble parts guy opinion, that just shows the character of that company. To know that
the commitment to their product and their customers. And
yes,
that's what we talked about. And I just wanted to tell him thank you because, let's be honest, Scott, I run the what out of those steps constantly in and out. And it was one of the things that Kevin noted, and I'd never really thought of it this way. He said, but think about, there's very few parts on a Jeep, even from the factory, that take the abuse that those steps do. Every time you open that door, they have to open. Every time you close the door, they have to retract. And it's a reliability function, which is why they had to design it and build it so sturdy. We have seen other manufacturers who essentially built steps that look cool, but seem to be a little bit lighter weight in their manipulating arms and their systems. More linkage means more wear, And so the fact that, yes, mine have quit, and we kind of had some fun with them hanging down and duct taping them on, closed. But the thing is everything wears out. The key there is even your vehicle that you buy new, your new Jeep has to have oil changes with new filters. It has to have ball joints replaced when you wear them out. You need new tires when you wear those out. It would really be horrible if you went back in, and I know a few vehicles that way that you go in and they go, oh, sorry, we don't support that anymore.
Yeah, that's heartbreaking.
And you can't get parts for it. Yeah. And so the fact is that they were offering. Now, what I'm bringing to you, though, is not that. That was just a nice conversation. But they have a new product. And this one's not even powered, but this is cool. They have come up with a self-stowing step that is focused at pickup trucks, including the JT, that mounts kind of off the frame. And the way it's built is you can make your own mount for this, or, it's kind of like a 4-bolt mount. But you can just tow it, and it slides out and then drops down into 2 steps. So if you have a lifted vehicle, you could use it as a doorstep. Now, it's only 9, and I think he has 3 sizes, at least 2. I know there's 2 sizes. There's like a 8 or 9 inch and then like a 13 or 14 inch wide one that, you can actually just tow it down, step up on the side of your bed, the end of your bed, get into your lifted truck. And then you just reach down and pull it back up, slide it in, and it locks itself back into the storage. And now I didn't have a chance to test anything other than I couldn't make it come out unless I specifically kind of used the tip of my toe or my hand to lift up the thing and pull it forward over its catch.
Right.
And it just seemed like a neat product. With the steps in between were more like an OSHA 9-inch. It really was. Sometimes on some of the steps, they're ways down there. And it's a pretty big step from the step up to the cab even then. But then again, a lot of Jeeps are way up there now, courtesy of 44s and 50-inch tires and keeping on going. I'm waiting for rocket hover jets that hold us about 6-7 feet above the ground. But anyway, this step system, if you look up their website, you'll see it, to me, has a whole new world of uses. Getting onto folks that have expeditionary rigs on the roof, and you don't really want to leave your ladder down per se, but you could put a ladder that only came down to the top of your tire, and you could use a set of these steps to give you that first 2 steps up. There's all kinds of options. Getting into the back of a pickup truck, particularly if it's an older one that doesn't have the option for a factory kind of a step up.
Right.
Just kind of a neat product out there, and I was impressed by the engineering of it. It looks like it should survive as well as the old step there. So if they have built it to the same level of quality they built their regular rock slider steps in, it's probably going to do well.
Well, and plus, again, they're going to make sure they keep the parts availability, which is also nice.
Well, that's what I like about it. Any manufacturer that supports, legacy equipment gets my vote. It's
absolutely.
I don't know about you guys, but I'm not into the latest and greatest. I'm into what works for me, and I want to buy it once and maintain it.
Yeah.
Now, that I realize is a little bit of an oddity in this world where everybody is, well, just throw it away and get another one. But, that also comes with a cost. Every vehicle I buy seems to have less steel and more plastic.
I just talked on a thread today, a person on one of the Gladiator forums where the 2 doors meet, okay? The front and the rear door, that B pillar is a dent in it, okay? And they said, this shouldn't have happened. And I said, the high-strength steel is underneath that. That's just a thin skin. And one guy basically told me, no, it's not that true. The sheet metal's thick. I said, let me show you something. And I went out to the Gladiator, and I took my camera, and I pushed my finger in the door skin where you could see it deflecting. And then I literally went over to the LJ. It wouldn't deflect. And then I went over to the GPW, and nothing happened.
Right.
And I said, believe me, buddy, there's less metal in this JT than anything else. Yeah. The metal is so thin. One of my nephews on both rear doors threw their seatbelts off. The seatbelts came through and dented the plastic part on the seatbelt, dented the quarter where the between the door and the truck bed, that little corner cab. I have two tiny little dents on each side from seatbelts. So the newer the vehicles come, the more thinner the sheet metal is.
Yeah, well, that's the advantage of what they consider high strength steel. That's one of the things. But no, the crash resistance is improved. Yes, it is, because they allow more metal to get destroyed and the objective is good. It's to absorb the energy of the accident and not put it into your body, which causes injury. But the thing is that you can take high strength steel and make it really thin, and still it'll work like a net is the best way to think of it, and catch the bumper or the side of another car or a tree or a rock or anything else and slow it down, but sacrificing itself in the meantime. And so, you're going to see more and more use of thin, very thin, high-strength steel that can not tear apart, but it will still deform, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that's your crumple zone.
Everything but you is now considered legal game for crumple zone.
Mm-hmm. And that's where it kind of ties into talking with Matt a little bit, is vehicles are designed now to be sacrificial, to protect the occupants. And one of the things,
it's not cheap. It's to save your life.
Yeah, and Kevin will appreciate this because, again, Kevin and I get a lot of questions about repairing and versus replacing and things like that. And I watched a video where it made me cringe, and I'm not really blindsiding Kevin, but Kevin will have a better way to explain this. A gentleman was repairing a vehicle, a frame, pulled the frame out and heated the frame till it was glowing red and started hammering it. And then everyone's like, you can't do that. Stop posting these videos. You're basically annealing the metal. The high strength steel now is brittle. It won't crash. Oh, you don't know what you're talking about. This is how you repaired it back in the... Yeah, cool. Yeah, get on a 72 Plymouth Wombat. You could do it that way. But you can't do it with these newer high strength steels. So talking with you, Kevin, I actually learned about annealing the metals and all this kind of really interesting stuff that you know more about than I do. But it's just...
That's also a scary situation because... You can't just do that. There comes a point, and there's a couple of sites that are very good about this, and I'm trying to remember them, but I can't come off the top of my head with them. But the high strength steel has limited areas where you can weld it, at the joints. I mean, that's what it shows you in their specific spots. And the only way to repair certain modern vehicles that are damaged is you can actually pull it out, but the piece you pull on is to get the other rest of them back in line, not to save it. And then you actually drill out all the spot wells and pull that straight but crumpled, once crumpled, and throw it away and put a new piece in. And the interesting thing is you can use junkyard salvage parts, but you can't just hack it off anywhere you want and weld it. You have to remove it as if it was a as new part and weld it back in the way the factory did. And I have only seen one YouTube that shows that correctly. And I don't know if I can, let me see if I can actually find... give me just a second, folks.
No worries. It's interesting. Well, we went down this rabbit. While Kevin looks this up, we went down this rabbit hole. But it's just interesting about how everything kind of comes together and shows, because it's a little byline. But like we talked with Matt, is we're a show about repairing and keeping your old Jeep running. And a common question we get is, hey, this has all this frame damage. What do you think? Can I go ahead and replace or fix this? And I know Kevin gets that question 1,000 times.
Yeah. Yep.
And this is kind of something to cover because, again, what's your level of comfort repairing something?
Yeah, exactly. And can you repair frame? Yes. There are kits and repair pieces for rust. You can straighten most of the early Jeep frames up through, I'm going to say, pretty much through 06, are regular mild steel. They're not high strength. But they're still a fabricated box section and not a steel beam like people think of. So they are sheet metal. So They're heavy sheet metal, but they're still sheet metal. I've done the rust repairs on the haunch of a couple of TJs, By the way, that website, if anybody wants to go check it out, it's VHCOR, VEHCOR. And he is a single guy. He has some helpers that do body work and paint, but he basically can take the most mutilated, wrecked vehicle that you'd ever believe, and he can bring them back to life. Now, you don't get upset with Scott or anybody else in the body shop world when you watch this, because he's the first one that'll tell you that what he's doing is not cost effective. Okay. Right. From a, body shop point of view, when they total a car, it's not irreparable. It's value wise is that after you repair it, the loss in value because it's been repaired versus the cost you're going to pay to repair it, you're going to be negative value, not positive. So you can total something. The insurance company will total cars that look pretty undamaged, but he's in more of a DIY business that he does himself, and therefore he doesn't have the overheads and all the other kind of things. So it's interesting to check him out when he is rebuilding what you look at and you're going, wow, did they live through that accident? And they did. Yeah. But he brings it back. He's got very select ones. He knows how to use the correct salvage. So it's a good situation if you're interested in what you can and can't do, because he will talk about high strength steel and what he can do and what he can't do and what's wrong with the wrong ways to fix them. And places that are mild steel, he uses, he shows you how to use, well, he doesn't really show you. He's just showing you what he does. Mm-hmm. And he's very good at it. He is typical northern central states, up in the Illinois, Chicago and all that kind of thing. He's got the cynicism going strong. And I enjoy guys that are like that, that you can watch and they tell it like it is. So besides, that's a sidebar. But yeah, you can't, when you have your Jeeps, this comes down to you really need to have factory service manuals. Okay. And more websites are opening up where you can go in for limited time. Some you pay, $30 to $50 to get one vehicle 1 year and download the product. Some of them, it's DIYers, again, usually one or two vehicles for a year, it's a certain value. And those manuals particularly will show you and tell you what you can and can't fix. And if you can fix it, how to fix it. Yeah. I'm a firm believer in them. The ones that we have on the TJs and the older Jeeps, and yes, folks, I know when this show started, it was an old Jeep and it hasn't gotten any younger. But you can do a lot. But there's some things that it's just not worth doing. And the problem with high strength steel from a DIYer's perspective only, not the automotive side, is if you try to weld it and repair it, you embrittle it. You make it brittle and it will fatigue crack sooner or later. It will crack where you welded it, and then you'll have no frame at all. And that happens while if you hit a pothole on, as Scott calls it, die 4, that could be a really bad day.
Yeah, so, especially when you're doing the average speed limit on I-4 is 120. Y'all think I'm joking. I've had a few people on a Jeep Beach who came down from out of state, drove I-4 for a little bit and said, Scott, you are not wrong. That was scary. Yeah. It was like Mad Max Beyond the Thunderdome. Like, yeah.
Yep. Yeah, it is. It is. So anyway, I just want to reiterate, I think we're kind of getting near the end of this session here. Mm-hmm. Folks, seriously, Matt's message is important. Yeah. And I ask every one of you that hear this to please try to pass it on. I'm a little embarrassed when I met him to find out that Jeeps were one of the worst responders to these airbag calls, yet we are in the group, not just Jeeps, but the off-road community who have the highest likelihood to deploy our airbags. Yeah. And whether it's deployed in an accident or a trail bump, it still can hurt you. So let's get that message out.
And that's one of the things like Kevin kind of touched on, and I'll expand a little more, is that, we're driving, some of us a 4-door Wrangler, and you have the big armored bumper, you know, you got a full frame, you got 4 doors, you got your side armor, you got all this armor and protection. There's that feeling of invincibility, but yet to be completely rendered dangerous by an airbag is scary. And what's even more, what floored me is when Kevin brought this up to my attention. I don't remember if I said it. I'm like, wait, that's still a thing? Because I know in 2018 and 19, we were doing airbags like there was no tomorrow. And of course, after a few years, it tapers off. And I haven't handed out an airbag from a Lexus or a Toyota in almost 3 years. I'm like, what? This is still a thing?
It's still a thing.
Wow.
It is still a thing. And it just boggles my mind. It's free, folks. My wife drives a Mercedes, for heaven's sakes, you know, and you go, oh my gosh, you're going to go into the dealership Yep. We went into the dealership, and not only did they have the coffee machine, they had soda and ice cream.
Oh, look at you, Mr. Fancy Pants. You know, all you get from Toyota is a burnt coffee and a warm bottle of water. No, but real quickly, though, again, shifting kind of gears, because Kevin kind of mentioned something about ArmorLite he mentioned from the last show. We talked about customer service, and it's actually kind of interesting. We talked about welding and fixing things. Brian actually emailed us. He's a listener, and he said, you know, hey, guys, I actually have the ArmorLite on my 97 TJ, and, you know, I actually had to weld in a passenger side floor pan from a 98, and it was a different, you know, drain plug. And he called up ArmorLite, and they're like, you know, oh, yeah, no problem. You need this one. We'll send it to you. And, hey, don't worry about sending the other one back. It's going to cost more than it's worth. You just keep it. He was like, I was so impressed with the customer service. I was so impressed with everything. So when Kevin and I talk about calling these manufacturers like Metal Cloak, ArmorLite, you know, Rock Slide Engineering, Kevin and I really expound about getting a relationship with these manufacturers. That just proves our points even more. These manufacturers want you to have a successful experience. You know,
they do. It doesn't do them. If you buy a product and are not happy with it, you're not likely to help them, you know, in the marketing, in which case that's really they should have been better off not having the sale at all. Yeah. Again, I'll stress, we are not funded by any of these folks. We're only the only people that contribute to the show are our Patreons. Thank you, Patreons. We do appreciate it. But you know, the key here is that they're in business. And the best business model is to make your clients and customers happy.
Yes.
You know? And so I only try to talk to you about products, or I shouldn't say it that way, but I tend to let you know about products that we have either used personally and had great customer support with, or something that has the potential to be a good situation, and they've impressed me when we've talked to them at these various events. So, you know, there doesn't mean that if we don't talk about them that they're not good. It may not have, you know, unfortunately I can only put one lift kit on the TJ, and Scott can only do so many things to one or the other. He does have 3 vehicles, so, you know.
Well, that's another thing too. Well, we may touch in the next show, because the Jeep Talk Show just posted something about this, and that was, you know, when is it time to sell? And I made a comment to Kevin a couple weeks ago. That, you know, it's like, here's the thing too, and I'm struggling a little bit, and people will understand what I'm getting ready to say is sometimes we bond with our projects. You know, the project becomes ours. We bond, we love it. I mean, that YG I had 9 years. I drove that thing. I cried getting rid of that thing. That was the dumbest mistake I ever did.
But was it really?
Mm-hmm. And then, you know, when I got the LJ, it was around so much turmoil and drama with the title and getting things done. I owned the vehicle for 6 months and couldn't drive it because I didn't have a title registered. It hid in my backyard until I got the title thing figured out. So I never really bonded with it. Well, at the time, I kind of been doing some soul searching. Like, you know, I just wanted a Jeep, and I wanted the bragging rights of having an LJ.
You wanted a 4-liter 6-speed red LJ.
No. I wanted the Rubicon LJ 6-speed and any other color but red. I know you're making fun of me.
No, I just had to
you had to dig me. That's fine. But you look at that, and so all my past is tempered in the point of, you know, now I have the Gladiator, and I love the Gladiator. It's a great daily driver, but is it time?
Yeah.
And that's one thing I don't know. And the thing is that I'm looking at old, like, Willys wagons. I'm looking at older iron, and I'm like, my soul is kind of being pulled more because the GPW is Autumns. I'm more pulled to that old classic iron, like the Willys wagons, or maybe a CJ5, or
rollover special.
Well, that or tetanus. The point is that it's like I love the LJ, but I'm not there yet. But I don't know if I ever will be. But it's a question I'm asking because I don't know, and so that's a whole nother show.
You will regret selling it.
Oh, absolutely.
That's all there is to it. I mean, I regret virtually every vehicle I have owned and got rid of if it was one that I put my heart and soul into. All the way back to a 1970.5 Ford Falcon, which everybody would go, what? Yes, there was such a thing.
It wasn't the Millennium Falcon either.
No, but it got close because it was the first one that I was allowed as a teenager to cut loose on. And I took a 6-cylinder with a 3-speed C3 transmission and grandma suspension. It was a 4-door, no less, and was allowed to do bodywork, paint, engine swap it up to a Boss 302 with a Muncie 4-speed and custom suspension that I designed myself using junkyard parts and a paint job, and finished my way all the way through high school with a sleeper, which most of you older folks would know the term, complete with exhaust cutouts that as long as I kept my eyes open, I wouldn't get caught for making too much noise, and had a blast with. And I had to sell it when I went to college because I had to pay for college. So, I missed that one. But I miss all kinds of the vehicles all the way through. But do I regret the new ones? No. It's just a normal progression. You're going to miss them. Take good pictures of them. At least it's easy now so that you can show people. Back then, no, Kodak Instamatics didn't take good car pictures.
Well, and that's the thing too. When I posted on the LJ pages, I said, does anybody else feel the same way? I feel like, time to let it go. And then I go for a drive. I'm like, nope, not time to let it go. So
I saw a few responses to that as well.
And I even had my inbox was flooded. How much? Where are you at? And I'll bring the trailer. It's like, okay, pump the brakes there, homie. Especially when I told them how much I wanted for it, and they're like, "Ooh, that's kind." I said, "Okay," and I said, "Well, I'll tell you what. What if I don't? Can you knock off $2,500 if you don't give me the hard top?" I said, "Okay, here's an idea. You pay me the $2,500, and you can sell the hard top for $2,500."
Yeah.
Because again, and Kevin told
you don't have the soft top for anymore, do you?
I do, and
you still
two sets of side windows because it still uses the same rear window. Side windows are the ones that are hard to get. I have 2 sets of side windows, 2 sets of axle shafts. I have 4 soft bikini tops with the tonneaus that go on the back of it, windjammers. So I have buckets of extra parts. And then, one guy's like, "Oh, those Mastercraft, or what kind of seats?" Mastercraft. Okay, cool. Those are really cool. Those are expensive. I said, "Yes, they are."
Yes, they are.
And
they're really comfortable. Though,
and
too.
of course, one of my DMs was a listener. "Well, did you tell them they only had 2,000 miles in the lift, but it's 4 years old?" Shut up. But that's I take the dig, But again, I don't think I ever will. But at the same time, you know what? I just, that old iron, man, it's pulling my soul. It's oh man.
I got to do is look at your backyard going, you ain't got a whole lot of space, brother, for too many more.
I got room for the 20 by 24 shop. Yeah. I've been pricing out steel buildings, and I may be pouring a slab here soon. But,
I hear you.
But, and you're in the same boat I am on that situation. But
a little bit bigger platform than that, but yes.
Yeah, but again, we've gone into should we sell our Jeep talk, and that's not what this show was about. But again, the point is like Kevin and I talk about is that we love every one of you listeners, and again, get the message out, and we hope you enjoy this because again, Kevin and I know that you guys thrive on the tech. And did you have any tech for this show, Kevin? Or are you still?
Well, that was how the airbag works, and the fact that it turns a little CO2 cartridge into a Claymore, so blatantly mentioned, so, but no, I don't really have any heavy tech for this show. I shouldn't say this out loud, but Slightly Altered has been behaving herself very nicely, so it doesn't leave me much tech.
Well, I'm still fighting the steps in the Gladiator. They're still being cantankerous and cranky, and I think I'm going to be due for an engine here in the Gladiator soon because the noise is getting louder and it's
so
bottoming.
You're going to replace in kind, or are you going to upgrade?
No, that it's under warranty. So,
okay.
There's a place called, now it's escaping me, but long story short is, we use them at work. It's $5,000. And well, here comes the thunder. I basically,
I just saw the flicker.
I have the, I have two different warranties. I have the Chrysler warranty and the Fidelity warranty I can take anywhere. And
Gotcha.
the Fidelity will probably pay for this engine. And basically, this company that we use, they have updated motors with the TSBs. In other words, for upgraded tappets, camshafts. It's
rollers.
I'll probably have to pay $600 out of pocket, but they basically, like most places do, you can get you the one with factory new parts and we'll put them on there, or for X amount or more, we can put the aftermarket upgraded parts that fix the manufacturer's issues for an extra $600. I'm like, ooh, I might do that,
Yeah.
Because again, it's the bottom end noise is getting pretty bad, and that wasn't something from the Baxter. It was kind of already there before we did the Baxter adapter.
No, I remember that you had that little bit of a tickety rattle, grumble in the belly.
I've tried to change the rocks 3 times. This time I put fancy ones in, but it's time. I get that noise.
Did you see the internet about using marbles instead? No.
It would help it to spin a little better, spin more faster. But no,
sorry, folks.
Nah, it's fine. But no, we'll see what happens. I mean, that's to be determined. So,
TBD.
Yep.
Well, folks, our usual closing, which is actually pretty serious given the weather out here right now.
Yeah.
Looks like. It's rumbling all the way from one side of the state to the other. That's pretty bizarre.
Check the app. Okay, it says, check again, Mr. Western. Are you still breathing? Yeah. Oh, I just got a weather alert. Okay, anyways.
We had tornado alerts earlier. They were here earlier, and you're about an hour and a half, 2 hours storm travel-wise on the other side. It goes in a straight line, doesn't care about speed limits.
Oh, yeah. No.
So, anyhow.
But yes, as Kevin was saying,
we've kind of run the gamut here from public service announcements through wrap-ups of Jeep Beach. A lot of fun this year, and look forward to next year. And otherwise, it's time to lock the hubs, put the Jeep in 4 low, and hit the trail. Appreciate you, listeners, and we'll see you next time.
Any show ideas on the trail podcast at gmail.com or Facebook Messenger. Until then, ciao.
Wow.
Proceeding has been provided for entertainment only. Proper service and repair procedures are vital to the safe, reliable operation of all motor vehicles, as well as personal safety of those performing those repairs. Standard safety procedures and precaution, including the use of safety goggles and proper tools and equipment, should be followed at all times to eliminate the possibility of personal injury or improper service which could damage the vehicle or compromise its safety.
What he said. Thanks a lot for listening, guys. You guys have a great day.
Bye.
This has been a Bent Axle Media production.